Good afternoon, everybody. I think you already heard that you've missed something, and I'm going to elaborate on what you've missed. It was an interesting session lasting 2 hours, and we had 4 different perspectives on actually the healthcare architecture or real estate, as you might call it, for the future. What is very important to keep in mind is that what we've seen today, there's a landslide in information and development going on right now as we speak. And as architects, I am one of them, we are always forced with a sort of traditional notion, like you're building bricks, it's slow, it's not developing fast enough for the advances that we see in science. So how do we then, as real estate enveloped people, deal with that? Well, actually, we saw 4 different perspectives, as I said, and one was from Harry van Goor, who is a surgeon and professor at the Radboud University Medical Center. People call him Dirty Harry. If you take the name Gore, well, you can imagine. The point is, he's kind of like the person that likes to disrupt. And his question to architects, in this case me and also a colleague of mine that spoke, was, if we look at the patient and the patient's needs, do we really still actually want to build those hospital environments that we were doing for ages? No, obviously not. We want to change the perspective of the patient in the architecture. And he calls it a room with a view. And the room with a view is a room that can change according to a specific patient's needs. We might even consider that it can be arranged in ways that architecture can no longer just deal with by itself. It has to do with all kinds of technical advancements where we can change the outlook and the atmosphere of a space, and even to model virtual space around the patient where they can also learn to deal with their disease. They can be cured in different ways by prototyping, even in virtual space that is sort of in the space that the person is at themselves. There is already advancements in technology that make that happen. Okay, if you take that into consideration and you look at architecture for healthcare, Roy Pijper from the Office of Wiegering Architects and Robert Muizer, who is from Arbel, a developer and an architect together, they gave a very interesting notion on that the most probable outcome for architecture and healthcare is that healthcare, quite frankly, just moves towards the home. And we want people to feel at home and be at home. And wouldn't it be a great time and place in the near or distant future where hospital environments are actually only there for necessity, for a very short period of time? What it says also to architects is that we have to reinvent our profession in a way when we're dealing with healthcare architecture. This is no longer the vast expanse of hardware. This is more like smart tech, intelligent technology that's being used to reduce the size of these facilities that are often very imposing also on the people that have to stay there. What they sketch is an image of the future in 2026, where a vast amount of square meters have moved out of these traditional hospital environments to the home with the traditional lines. There's 3 lines in the Netherlands. The first one is your general practitioner, and it leads up to, let's say, top clinical healthcare, that we are actually redividing that, and it becomes much more decentralized and less centralized. My talk picked up from that perspective, and what if we still had to make hospitals? What would it be? What kind of environments would we want it to be? As a head architect at Radboud, we are considering right now the campus environment as a new environment, which is not only physical, but also digital. And I use this quote from, this is quite an interesting one, where educators were offering services online, and it led to people never stepping foot on the campus. And this is a very interesting notion, that you don't have to be in a specific place anymore, that is vast in its size, has a lot of hardware, and we have to walk through all of that. No, we can just arrange it in a convenient environment. But this also tells us that the environments that are still physical, let's say, and I really love this statement, also from another professor, Laan, who is one of the educators of Radboud. He says, people are also social by nature. So at least somewhere in between 20 and 30% will always be in physical contact with each other. We need that as human beings. We want environments to take care of that, to take care of that contact. And if we are talking about advancements in science, we have to create these environments that are there to make that contact. So they will be communities and communicative spaces. Campus environments of the future are really like small communities in themselves that enhance knowledge and enhance science. And we have to build environments for that. And last but not least, the final perspective was by my client at Radboud. He's the director of all real estate. He has the most important, and I think some of the maybe most important and difficult tasks of the campus itself, where he has to think of buildings that are, well, not per se the fastest in advancements. Buildings are often thought out now, built over a period of 5 years, let's say, and then technology has advanced much. So he has to think of, and he explained to us, how he builds a process where we can time the effect of science and technology and advancements into new environments. And I think that's, of course, the essence of real estate and real estate development for healthcare, where we are trying to be really smart about what we need in hardware. And it sounds maybe strange that an architect who is maybe profiting from as much hardware as possible says that, but I think truly that we as architects, real estate developers, have to reinvent our profession. And this is, I think, also the conclusion of the real estate track. I thank you. By the way, everything is recorded, so you can look back online at our presentations. And I thank you very much for this short opportunity to elaborate on that. Thank you.